In the first light of morning, the palace does not rise from the land, it floats on water and memory. The lake is perfectly still, like polished glass. The sky moves slowly from deep blue to a warm, breathing gold. And at the center of the reflection stands a pavilion so light, so precise, that it seems to belong more to a dream than to the earth. Bangparin began as a royal river island in the 17th century. During the age of Ayutthaya, when kings traveled by barge along the Chao Phraya and sought places where the air was softer, where the sound of water replaced the noise of the court. It was not built first as a monument. It was a refuge. When Ayutthaya fell in 1767, the island fell into silence. For more than 100 years, nature returned. Trees grew where courtyards had been. Water covered the paths. Wind moved through empty foundations. Then, in the 19th century, everything changed. King Chulalongkorn, Rama V, came here not only as a ruler, but as a visionary. He had traveled to Europe. He had seen empires, railways, electric light, and modern diplomacy. And he understood that Siam could survive only by transforming without losing itself. He rebuilt Bangparin as a living statement. The royal complex stretches across more than 100 hectares. Lakes are not decorative, they are spatial mirrors that double the architecture of its oldest ways. Gardens are arranged with geometric discipline, influenced by European planning yet softened by tropical growth. Bridges do not simply connect land, they choreograph movement, revealing the palace in carefully controlled perspectives. At the center of the water stands Aisawan Dhiphya-Asana, completed in 1876. A Thai pavilion, slender, golden, perfectly proportioned, rising from the lake like a quiet prayer. Its reflection is as important as its structure. Architecture and water become one single composition. Around it, the world gathers. To the north, a neoclassical residence with symmetrical facades and tall arched windows speaks the visual language of European monarchy. To the east, Viet Chamrun, the Chinese-style palace, was a gift from the King Court. Assembled piece by piece and carried across the sea. Italian marble, Thai roofs, Chinese ornament, French planning. This is not excess. This is diplomacy made visible. In the late 19th century, almost every nation in Southeast Asia was absorbed into colonial empires. Siam remained independent, not through military force alone, but through intelligence, balance, and cultural fluency. Architecture became a form of negotiation. When foreign envoys arrived, they did not see resistance. They saw refinement. They saw a kingdom that understood the modern world and yet did not surrender its soul. Inside the palace, the day began before the sun fully rose. Silk garments moved softly across polished teak floors. Windows opened toward the water to allow the morning air to pass through the halls. Porcelain from Europe, lacquer from China, and Thai goldwork were arranged in perfect harmony. Every gesture followed protocol. Clothing was a language. White ceremonial fabric threaded with gold for purity and authority. Royal blue sashes for those closest to the throne. Orders and decorations placed with mathematical precision across the chest. Jewels were not ornaments, they were constellations of rank. In the European hall, receptions unfolded beneath crystal chandeliers that multiplied the light into 1,000 reflections. Columns created perspective and distance, elevating every movement into ceremony. Diplomats bowed. Letters were presented. Treaties were discussed in rooms where East and West shared the same air. This was how Siam moved through the most dangerous century in its history, with elegance as strategy. But Bang Parin was never only political. It was seasonal, a retreat. And retreat carries a different kind of emotion. Long corridors in the afternoon. Wide lawns with no footsteps. The sound of a single boat crossing the lake. The palace was filled with light, and also with solitude. In 1880, a tragedy on the river near this very residence changed the rhythm of the court forever. Queen Sunanda Kumari Ratana and her daughter drowned when their boat capsized. Protocol prevented commoners from touching a member of the royal family, and help came too late. From that moment, the meaning of modernity became personal. Reform was no longer only about railways and ministries. It was about human life. About rewriting rules that had existed for centuries. About allowing compassion to stand beside ceremony. Time moved forward. The absolute monarchy evolved into a constitutional one in 1932. Royal spaces slowly became national heritage. Private chambers became historical rooms. Power transformed into memory. Today, visitors cross the same bridges once reserved for kings. They walk through gardens where envoys once waited in formal dress. They stand before the pavilion and see their own reflection in the same water that once mirrored the royal barges. Nothing here is silent. The Thai pavilions still speak of spirituality and cosmic balance. The European buildings still speak of diplomacy and adaptation. The Chinese residence still speaks of friendship across oceans. Bang Parin is not a palace of one identity. It is a conversation between civilizations. Late in the afternoon, the light becomes softer. Gold turns into amber. Shadows grow longer across the lawns. The floating pavilion loses its solidity and becomes pure reflection. Water and sky exchange places. And the palace returns to what it has always been. Not a seat of power, but a meeting place between worlds. A place where a kingdom learned how to survive by becoming more beautiful, more open, and more human. As evening approaches, the air cools. The lake holds the last light of the day. Bridges glow for a moment and then slowly fade. Memory remains. Thank you for walking through this space where architecture, history, and water move together in perfect harmony. Subscribe, and continue with us to discover the most timeless palaces ever created, places where beauty is not only seen, but understood.